Jesus is the light. Genesis 1:3 tells us that the light was shining before the sun was even created on the fourth day. Amen. John chapter 1 verse 6, I think it's that John tells us that the light came into the world and the light was Jesus, but men would not accept the light because they love darkness. Amen. Then we saw in John chapter 8 that Jesus, the day after they had the lighting ceremony, when they lit those huge bowls on top of the post and Jerusalem would light up and almost light up that whole area. The next day, Jesus made a profound statement. He said, I am the light of the world. Didn't he, church? Then he told us something else. He told them in John chapter 9. He said, I am the light of the world as long as I'm in the world. Amen. Then he told them in John chapter 12, he said, follow me and be in the light because you will only have me for a little while longer. I think Jesus was trying to tell the church something. Amen. That we are the light of the world once the true light of the world is gone. Because we are like moons that reflect the light. Amen. We are the light of the world that's left. And when Jesus makes this statement, of course, they don't understand it. But Jesus is going to make them understand it with some powerful illustrations of their day. So the first thing I want us to see, church, Jesus says, of course, you are the light of the world. But he makes a profound statement. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. The first thing I want us to understand this morning, church, is that the church cannot be hidden. The church cannot be hidden. Are we understanding this morning? I want us to see something that Jesus said that's so powerful. Jesus says a city set on a hill. Can I help us this morning so we can get some aha moments and some amens? Do you know that a city can't be set on a hill unless somebody set it there? Amen, Walls. Can I help us this morning? Do we not realize that most cities are not set on a hill? But Jesus is saying something profound, that there is a city that some kind of way somebody has placed on a hill. Do you know why the city has been placed on the hill? Let me help us with a city. Maybe we don't understand this. One thing I've learned being at Wheeling and my children playing sports is that you have to drive through a lot of towns. A lot of towns I didn't even know existed. I mean, little, small, obscure towns, and you drive through these towns, and they are absolutely beautiful. And when we drive through, I always tease my wife. I go, so what do you think? Do you think you could live in this city, live in this town right here? And my wife always goes, no. No. It's beautiful, but no. Because there's no places to eat. It's true. Nowhere to go except sit on the porch or whatever you do in a beautiful little place. There's nothing to do in towns. And you will find something out about towns. Do you realize in towns, you could typically drive through them and never knew you drove through them? The only way you know you drove through them is that you saw the city, you saw the sign on the way in and you see the sign on the way out and you go, that was a town? Small populations, quiet. I actually love that kind of living because I always say you can get away from the hustle and the bustle of the city. You can have a peace of mind. But then there's the city. Do you realize the cities? They're very lively. A lot of things always going on. High population, a lot of places to eat. And one thing about a city, they are typically well lit at night. Now, I get scared driving through them small towns because there's no light at night. Only light is my car. When I'm driving through, I'm terrified. I'm like, please don't have a flat. But when you drive through the city, it's well lit. Always somewhere to go, always somewhere to eat, always something to do. Cities are very lively, very noticeable, and they are lit. Are we hearing what Jesus is saying, church? Jesus is saying that a city, because it's so lit. And one thing about cities, even when they're not lit, do you know the characteristics of large cities? Man, when you drive through them, they have large buildings. Large, beautiful buildings, large structures, and all of these things. I think Jesus is saying something, church, we're not paying attention to. Do y'all know that a city is very noticeable? Do y'all know that a city cannot be hidden? Let me tell y'all something. Downtown Dallas cannot be hidden. Downtown Dallas has huge buildings, and at nighttime, Dallas is beautiful. Man, it is so lit. I remember the first time I drove through Houston. Houston is beautiful at night. Why? Because it's lit. My dad drove trucks. He told me there's nothing like coming over the hill when you go into Las Vegas. He said at nighttime, he said it'll blow your mind. It's a spectacle because the whole city is lit. Are y'all hearing what Jesus is saying about the church? The church is supposed to be lit and lively. The church is supposed to be a place where things are always going on. The church is supposed to be noticeable. And not only did he say it's supposed to be noticeable because it's a city, but check out what he said, church. It's set on a hill. Do you know that when a city is set on a hill, people have no choice but to look up to it? Amen, Walls. Jesus is saying something so powerful. He said a city that is set on a hill. Guess who set the city on a hill? We are a chosen generation, church, and we better recognize it. We are supposed to be the light of the world. We can't join in with the world as they look at the world in doom and gloom. We must look at the world as God is in control. And someone says, well, the world is so dark and gloom. Well, light it up. Then you light the world. Why? Because you are a city that is set on a hill and God set us there. Do you know what Jesus just told us? We've been set apart. We're not just blending in. We're set on a hill. Somebody set us there and his name is Jesus. He set us on the hill for the world to see because the church ought to be a spectacle. I want to help us with something, church. When he says this powerful word, he says a city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Can I help us with something? There's no such thing as a hidden Christian. We got to stop being hidden. We have to stop being the type of people that go and blend in. Because let me tell you something about a town. You can pass by a town and never know you've been in it. But when you pass by a Christian, you ought to know it. Amen, Walls. When you're in the presence of a Christian, you ought to know it. And I promise you, when people meet me, it ain't long before they know this man must do something in the ministry. Amen, Walls. Because they're going to know how I talk it and they're going to know how I walk it. We have to be the light of the world that Jesus has made us into. He is saying something. That word hidden, do you know that word hidden is also used for the word secret? There's no such thing as a secret Christian. I'm meddling this morning. Ann Barwick told me one day I was meddling when I was talking about sugar. Ann, I'm meddling this morning. Because if you work on your job and they don't know you're a Christian, you need to ask yourself, because Jesus is saying this for a reason. Jesus is saying that we are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. And if you're hidden, then you need to be questioning whether you're a Christian or not. Because I'm sorry, but Christians are not quiet, whether it be in their proclamation or whether it be in their life. And it should be a combination of both. There's no such thing as a secret Christian. There's no way somebody can be in the church for 15, 20, 25, 30 years and people in society didn't even know we're in the church. Oh no, they need to know we're in the church. They need to know by what we say and they need to know by what we do that we are the light of the world. Do y'all hear this? Jesus is dropping. I wish I could preach like this. I remember my teacher told me when this lady teacher at Southwestern Christian College, her name slips me right now, but Nikki, you know who I'm talking about. We had her for the Ladies' Day program. This is one of the wisest ladies I've ever met in my life. And we were sitting down having a conversation about preaching, and she was telling me, she said, George, when preachers can learn to preach with the simplicity of Jesus, she said, that's when they're preaching. admire Jesus because he's using so much common sense to provoke the thoughts of the church and to provoke the thoughts of us in the world. A city set on a hill? Well, first of all, who sets it on a hill? Number two, how could it be hidden? It's on a hill. Do we hear what Jesus is doing? Jesus is using what we call common sense. He's not done, church. Jesus is going to say something even more powerful as he keeps going. He says, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket. Are we seeing this, church? A lamp cannot be put under a basket. And the church cannot be hidden and put under a basket either. Amen? I want to help us with something. Jesus is now using common household sense.